Hey everybody, how you doing today? It's a very rainy day. I'm here working hard. This is a piece, remember, I'm going to have available at Shay's Art Auction, which is in October. I think it's like the 12th of October it's going to be. So make sure you check us out. I'm at the 9 o'clock time slot. So I'll be with I think Shelby is with me. I'm not sure who else is. So, but I'm looking forward to it. So, um, first thing I want to talk about is the professionals on Tuesday. They were talking about like their like sexy women, and they talked about they did a round of who they thought their sexiest woman was, who was a heroine, then villainous, and then TV or movies. Um, they skipped one. They left one out. My personally, I think that the sexiest woman in comics is Mary Jane. She is, to me, always been the most beautiful and the sexiest of all the characters. She had no superhero powers, but yet she was the sexiest. First and foremost, uh, Stan Lee, when he had her design, it was like she has to have two dimples in her cheeks when she smiles, and she has to have a cleft in her cheek. First thing that reason why that works so well is that she's not a stick. She's a full woman, and she has some weight in her face. You know, she's got that little bit, still has that like that baby weight. And where my introduction to Mary Jane is now, Marcus, I know you're watching, so I know you'll put it in the chat. My favorite is where I was introduced to Mary Jane was the Spider-Man comic where he's fighting the Puma. And at the end of the episode, he returns back to his apartment, and his apartment's in shambles. And Mary Jane's there waiting on him. And he's like trying to come up with excuses why earlier in the issue he had to push her out of the apartment just before the Puma attacked. And she's like, "No, don't bother. Don't bother with your excuses. I know you're Spider-Man." And as a kid reading that, I was like, "Oh my god!" And that was a cliffhanger. The very next issue starts with her reiterating, "I know you're Spider-Man," and lo and behold, and he's trying to explain to her, like, "No, no, no," and come up with an excuse. And just at that moment, Hugo comes swinging in the window, but the black cat, and she's all like, "See, I knew it, I knew it," and she's all like heartbroken. And here he's like upset because she's leaving, and then Black Cat goes to leave, and remember he's got the symbiote suit. The symbiote flings out its tentacle and stops Black Cat from leaving. And she's like, "Oh, Peter, you do care for me. You do love me." And it's like one of those where it's like, "Bitch, please. You have been nothing but a Friday night fuck toy, and that's all you ever will be." So for me, it's like one of those where it's like, yeah, Black Cat from the very beginning, yeah, she exudes sex when I saw her. And this issue was, and these issues were done by Ron Franz doing the artwork with Tom DeFalco doing the story. But for me, it was like one of those where it's like, Black Cat, you're a disposable character. You're a disposable woman to Peter Parker. And so that's like I said, the first issue, Mary Jane, I know you're Spider-Man. Second issue is the him trying to recover from it and like explain. And that's in the issue where he goes to the Fantastic Four and finds out that his suit is alive, and they use a sonic blaster to separate him from the suit. The issue after that is Mary Jane and Spider-Man or Peter Parker walking through Central Park. And Mary Jane essentially tells Peter Parker her life story. And she's never told anybody her story and how basically this carefree persona that Mary Jane perceives, shows everybody, it's a mask. It's her own mask. She's a very damaged individual. She has a very hard um, life, very hard childhood. And from that, and it's like one of those where it's like, look, I know you're Spider Man. I can keep your secret. I'm going to, because I know your deepest secret, I'm going to tell you my deepest secret. And she tells him everything that she went through in her life. And at that point, it was one of those where it's like, yeah, this is great. We've, Peter Parker has someone that he can truly be a confidant to, and he can talk Spider-Man stuff and what he's going through as Spider-Man with someone because she has revealed her deepest secrets to him. And a lot of the movies out that time were like the John Hughes films. And John Hughes always had that theme of the the beautiful girl always had a ducky character, a guy that would pine for her, but she'll never see him that way. And so that's what I'm seeing in the movie. So to see this comic book where Mary Jane's revealing all of her secrets to Spider-Man, but you get the sense right off the bat that she's not doing this for Peter Parker to be her ducky. She's like one of those where it's like I because you have this secret that you've been keeping hidden for so long. I'm going to tell you my deepest secret, and they become like their own emotional support mechanism for each other, and the issues following that because of like actions being taken by the Hobgoblin that with Harry Osborn. Mary Jane's involved in that because she's friends with Osborn and his wife, and so she knows why she's not questioning. Like she knows when Spider-Man shows up, she's like, "Oh, thank God you're here, Peter." But she's not saying that aloud. She's thinking that. That's another thing. Also, is so great about that time is you had thought balloons, so you could have Mary Jane thinking things to us, the reader, so we can see that she's like grateful that Peter's there, even though he's showing up as Spider-Man. Uh, and then, like I said, this and it pays off because in the very like I want to say about Tom DeFalco by the time this time this happens, I think Tom had left the book, but just before the marriage between Spider-Man and Mary Jane, she has to leave. He proposes and she says no. And then right after that, she finds out something's going on with her sister out in Pittsburgh. So she leaves, and shit is hitting the fan big time. Her sister is being framed. She's going to be going to prison. She's found out that her sister has two children, that she's an aunt, and but she needs help. And she reaches out to Peter. Peter flies out to Pittsburgh. He helps her in the course of this story. The Spider Slayer follows him out to Pittsburgh because somehow it's tracking him, and the two of them together defeat the Spider Slayer. He helps Mary Jane get her sister out of the jam she's in, involving her father. And at the end of the issue, she goes, "Yes, Peter, I will marry you." And for me, that made just the whole story. And you gotta keep in mind, up until then, I mean, Spider-Man had like had like four titles, and I remember after that whole thing where Mary Jane's found out who Spider-Man is, I would all when a new Spider-Man would come out, whether it was Amazing Spider-Man or not, Many times I would flip through it and see if Mary Jane's in it, or if it was a cover and they had Mary Jane on it. A perfect example is they did a Louise Simonson did the story. It was a Spider-Man annual, and on the cover, uh, Mary Jane's up against a wall, and there's laser blasts hitting her on either side of her, and she's opening up her blouse, and underneath her blouse is the spider costume. And as a kid, I was like, "Oh, she's gonna put on the Spider-Man costume. This is gonna be so cool." And she doesn't, but she's still. It's a very and again, it was like they're making her more of a prominent character in the Spider-Man book, but they're not love interests. They're not boyfriend girlfriend. Um, they still have their own lives. She's just simply, like I said, she's now Peter Parker's confidant, and I found that I love that so much. So that's I would so guys if I'm going to in the description I've got each one of the bros campaigns or sign up lists. So if any of you bros watch this video, please make sure you put in the comments why I'm right and why I'm wrong. Or anybody who watches this video, put in the comments why am I right, why am I wrong about Mary Jane and her not being the sexiest woman in comics. So, but yeah, to all the bros, yeah, if you watch this video, tell me in the comments whether I'm right or wrong. So, but and then last night we went to see Beetlejuice, and I gotta tell you, as soon as the movie started with Danny Elfman's musical score, I was like, I'm sitting there, and the movie we'd seen prior to that in the theaters was Twisters, and I'll tell you some musical score alone. Okay, Beetlejuice is a movie to see in the theaters. Where Twisters could have been a direct to DVD movie, a direct to streaming movie, and it kind of felt that way because, like I said, the musical score did not match what you're seeing in the theaters. Whereas Danny Elfman's musical score, oh my god, it was so good. So I don't want to go too deep into Beetlejuice just because it's new, and a lot of people probably haven't seen it. It just came out yesterday. Um, but I will say, it you know how it is. It was a fictional town in Connecticut, and remember how in the original, it was Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin. How they'd made a diorama of the town, and when they are doing the opening sequence, with who stars in it, casting, directing, it's doing like a panoramic going through the town and whatnot. And that panorama, or I should say that model, because it was a model. That model was so well done. You really had to look at it carefully to see that this is the model of the town. This isn't just an aerial shot of the town itself. So I thought that was very well done. And overall, it's very good. I mean, you couldn't do it like a copycat of the original because we know now that Beetlejuice is alive. We know about the underworld and all the bureaucracy going on in the underworld. So that in the very beginning, there's like transitionings between the real world and the underworld. They did a good job with it. At one point, it was a throwaway character in the real world, and have that character pass away. Then he shows up again in the underworld with the bureaucracy, and it was just neat how it's like, okay, it's a throwaway character. He's not major. He's not significant to the movie, but it was good to have a familiar face with the transitioning between the two. So overall, I found it to be a very good movie. It was meant to be seen. Because we saw it on opening night, there's a lot of like high school kids, and we're walking out, and there's like these two girls, and they're like saying how it's like, oh, it was how they were saying how good it was. It wasn't, as they put it, it wasn't as good as the OG, but it was still good. And I'll tell you something. That's what you really need to hear. Is you want to hear that a movie, even if the movie wasn't as good as the original, it was still a good sequel to the original. So, and they're right, and it had its moments. I just found it to be very good. Uh, okay, remember in the first one, they had Jeffrey Jones who played the girl's father. Well, he's passed away. So how they included him in it was they used claymation, which really worked out good. It worked out. They did a good job, so it fit in with the how Tim Burton does his movies. So I found that to be very good. And then of course, uh, on top of that, uh, I like how right off the bat, Winona Ryder's character, she explains why Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin are not in the movie. And I thought that was really good. Not because of what's going on with Alec Baldwin with the Rust stuff or Gina Davis. It had to do, it's like, you're doing a sequel, so you gotta include some of the original characters from the original script, but you can't have all of them. Otherwise, it bogs the movie down. And just by explaining why they're not into it in the movie, direct to the point, and it's like, okay, move on with the story. And I thought that also was really good because of, like I said, they just explain why they're not in the movie, why they're not ghosts anymore, just very well. When they'll just boom, explain, move on, and it's not like extra questions asked and explanation and whys. It just boom, that's why they're not in it. So it was just very good. So I like I said, the music score alone, as soon as I started watching it, I'm like, yeah, this is good. And then of course, just the interaction in the movie between Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice and Winona Ryder, just overall very good. I it was because it centers around uh, Winona again, and her daughter's in it. Yeah, it's a mother daughter movie. You can see it's, but the thing is, as you look at it, it's one of those where it's like it could be easily applied to being a father son movie. Okay, it's a parent child movie. Okay, the interaction between the parent and the child, and the conflicts that come between being a parent, dealing with your own stuff with, and then your child, and so they come to conclusion with that, and it just overall is just really good. So I found it very satisfying. This is definitely a movie that I will definitely be uh, buying on Blu-ray uh, to have to keep in my collection to rewatch. So I know it's one of those where it's like, wow, you're saying it's so good, but you're not really giving. I'm trying to give you guys reasons and why I like it without giving it away, because honestly, this is one of those movies that I don't want to give anything away at all. I want you guys to go and decide for yourself. So if any of you guys like Andy, if you go to see it next Thursday, uh, hope you'll remember this video and you'll put in the comments your opinion of Beetlejuice. So, guys, this piece is basically almost done. It's my Thundar Barbarian piece. I know I still need to, I want to put some tone in here. Very light dots, even lighter than this, under her arm. So that way the feathers and the twine with the beads and such stands out. So I'll probably put that the tone in here. but I'm probably going to put just a little bit up here and leave that kind of white. So, because right now all I got to do is I got to finish this guy. After I've done this guy, I'm going to put a very light tone behind these guys. That way, your strongest white is the upper slope of her breast. So that's the biggest, largest white area. So that'll be where your eye will automatically be drawn to. And then from there, your eye will go around, move around the rest of it. So, like I said, this will be available at Shay's Art Auction. So I hope you guys will check it out. So, but that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm probably going to finish this up today. So I'll have something new to work on tomorrow. Probably what I'll work on tomorrow, if I'm able to, is go back to that Graham piece of Monster Island. So, which I got that book in yesterday. I did a video. You'll see it on. If you go in, you'll see it's a recent video I uploaded. So I enjoyed doing that video. And remember, what happens to the AWOL's coffee maker? Does he get a new one? We need to know. We need to know what happened to the coffee maker. I mean, is AWOL going through a caffeine withdrawal because there's no coffee maker? We need to know these things. So, guys, you all have a great day. I'm going to have a great day. But remember, life is stressful. Just take it all one dot at a time.